can touch on it with all the thing with, with Lee Haney. We had him as a guest, 8-time Mr. Olympia, with Milos talking about basically the same thing, getting, not the posing round,
He wants the symmetry round
symmetry round, which I
judged,
agree with
and he
him.
does want the posing round judged too,
Yeah,
because I
and he
just
wants
saw
the
him on
posing
another
round
thing.
judged. I agree with him 100%. I agree with Lee Haney that the sport has to be, rebooted again, getting back to certain things of the past, and certain things have has to be, I think, the physiques have to be a bit more maybe classical. I don't want to say, a freak like Rebel is not cool to look at, but it everything combines, what they're doing, how they get to that point. Is it healthy, not healthy? But we're gonna get about the health. We're gonna talk
Right.
about that a bit later. But should the Pro League or the NPC or what any federation, the IFBB, um, should they do a roundtable discussion with the legends of the past and of the recent legends like Jay Cutler and Phil Heath. Then you get Ronnie Coleman and you get then Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, and all those guys. You get a roundtable discussion to see how they can put the sport, in a direction where everybody agrees to it. You know, because the way it is, you have that media channel saying what they think. You have that bodybuilder saying, Lee Haney's, he's from the past. He should keep his mouth shut. With which I don't, I don't really tolerate because he's been there, he's done that. He's won the Olympia against some of the best lineups that there ever was. You know, um, when you compare him to, for example, I'm saying Arnold's not a legend. Arnold's a legend in what he did during that time. Okay, and then he progressed, acting, politics, or whatever. But you have to remember, it's not, you know, if you go back, Arnold, once he won Olympia on his own on stage, all right, by himself, there was not more than three or four guys. The only Olympia that he had a strong lineup with was the 1980, and that was controversial because many believed that he
Very,
shouldn't have won.
very.
So Arnold literally never competed against more than three or four guys, So um, then you get Lee Haney. He's won eight against a lineup of 15, 16, 20 guys that were all in top condition.
Very tough people. Very tough.
So he has the right to say what he has to say. He's not putting down the new bodybuilders, He's not putting on, he's saying it as it is. He believes, like, for example, he said it, Nick Walker would have a tough time going up against Samson, Derek, and Hardy. That's his opinion. That's what he thinks. And it it could be, you know, it could be. So I think, guys like Milos, uh, you get Tyler Mannion there or whoever, or well, maybe presidents from other federations. It will never happen. But if you focus just on the NPC and Pro League, they make a round table and they discuss these things. I think something can come out of it.
I think it would be very, I mean, we're kind of having like mini roundtables on the internet
Yeah,
now. Because
yeah,
like the
yeah,
other day I was watching and it was
yeah,
Dennis James,
yeah,
Milos, Flex
yeah,
Wheeler, Chris Cormier. So like mini roundtable.
yeah.
Um, so it would be interesting to get more of them together, everybody together, and see. But the thing that I would want to do is that if you do notice, a lot of the people who are saying, and I'm not saying who's right or wrong, I'm just saying that a lot of people who are saying we need the symmetry round back, we need the posing round back, we need to start to get to the more back to the aesthetics, so on and so forth. All of the physiques, the people generally had that kind of physique.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Lee
yeah, yeah.
Haney, small waist, and you have, you got Chris Cormier, more symmetrical, Flex Wheeler, you got Milos. Those were their physiques. So if I was going to have a round table of people of the past and maybe some present, you would also need to get people like Marcus Rule on there.
Yeah.
You need
Dorian
to get
Yates.
Jean-Pierre Fu. You
Yeah,
need to get some of the mass monsters
yeah,
who were still winning some shows,
yeah,
maybe not the Olympia,
yeah,
but that was their forte, and
yeah.
see what their opinions are also, because you can't just, and obviously you're going to be biased to the type of physique you
Yeah, of
had.
course. Like,
So
I
you know what I'm
don't,
saying? So
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like you'd
no,
really
no.
have to have all the different types of physiques,
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
shorter guys, some of the guys who are more freaks, some of the guys
No,
who are really
exactly,
aesthetic,
exactly. I mean,
Bob Paris's, the Rory Liedermeyers,
yeah, yeah,
plus also the Marcus Rules, the
yeah,
Art Atwoods, if he was still with us, people like that,
yeah.
so
I
that it's a
mean,
balanced conversation.
yeah, I mean, like Nick Walker's probably saying, who is the Haney to judge me and tell me that I can't win the Olympia? He's right. He's right. Lee Haney's just looking at him physique, but determination and the will to win. I think there's nobody like Nick that will say, you know, that he wants to win the Olympia. His, if I heard him right once, he's not doing it anymore where he's going to say he's going to win. He's going to place in the top three. Now, that could be, first, second, or third. Uh, he doesn't have those aesthetics and stuff like that, but Nick Walker, when he's on point, he's dangerous, He,
He's very dangerous.
yes,
He could
yes,
easily win the Olympia. So
exactly.
it's you can't
You
count
can't,
anyone in that top
no,
group out,
no,
because number one, you don't know who's going to show up in what which way.
exactly.
Plus,
But
also, I mean, it's on the competition. I mean, listen, I personally, and this is my opinion, I like the more aesthetic physiques in general. I
even
still want him to have a lot of muscle.
yes, yes,
I
yes,
will tend more towards like a Flex Wheel or Lee Haney look
yeah,
in my view of
yeah,
what I see bodybuilding is,
yeah.
more so than the mass monster. But that's not to say that I don't look at mass monsters and go like, oh
No,
my God, they're
but
incredible. Like,
yeah,
wow. So the sport still has to be judged on all the different aspects: conditioning, muscle size, muscle
yeah,
proportion, symmetry. All of it has to come into play, because you might have a mass monster going against a guy who's super aesthetic, but he doesn't have enough muscle in his body, or
yeah.
he's not
No,
conditioned enough, and the mass monster deserves to win.
yeah.
So you have to. It's
People,
very.
yeah,
This problem is that this sport is so based on opinion and so
yeah,
subjective that everybody is going to have their own thoughts, and there's
exactly.
nobody who's right or wrong.
No, no,
That's the thing.
no. Like some people will say it's bodybuilding. You know, people want to see freaks, people want to see mass. But then there's the aesthetics, there's the condition, there's how everything flows. Is it a bit artistic? Like you're seeing the sculpture of Michelangelo, those, is it artistic or is it a freak show? All right, the fans love seeing a freak show, but if you want to see the beauty of bodybuilding, it has to be, you know, I'm not saying everybody has to look like Bob Paris, because then you put him next to a guy, like next to Reagan Grimes, that's like a Bob Paris, 2.0. Reagan looks, huge. Would somebody prefer Reagan as a Mr. representing the sport as Mr. Olympia? Why not? But then again, it comes to muscle size, condition, if everything's balanced. And if like Samson comes in on point, nobody's gonna touch him. We can say it now, you know. If Samson comes in on point, better condition,
Probably will win again. If he
he'll win
comes in,
again.
he'll
And
probably win
he
again.
he has the capability of keeping that title. I don't know if he'll keep it for 8 years, but he has a chance to make a good run, you know. Um, you know, it's going to be interesting, but I think the way we're seeing things is what's going to happen at the Olympia. Now, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth might change around, but I think Samson's going to be the guy that's put in the middle all the time. As I said, he has to come in that condition, because if he doesn't, Derek can push him aside,
So
and
Gennady,
Derek's trying to go, for the full sweep this year. Pittsburgh, Arnold Classic, and if he wins the Olympia.
quite honestly, there are at least four, if not five guys who are capable of winning the Olympia this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
It's not like back when Ronnie was just dominating, or when Dorian
No,
was
no.
dominating, when
Yeah,
Lee was
yeah,
dominating.
yeah, yeah.
It's much closer now. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
It's
think it's a great discussion. There's
it
and
would be
everybody's going to have
amazing.
their
Yeah,
opinion. There's people who
yeah,
just love mass monsters, and that's what they want to see. And there's some
yeah,
people who love.
yeah.
But I'll give you a funny. Here's a really quick example. I think that a lot of what Lee Haney and some of these guys, not all of them, but like maybe Lee Haney in particular, he likes to see. He wants bodybuilding to be bigger than just the bodybuilding crowd loving bodybuilding. He wants
Okay.
it to be more mainstream. And it's funny because my mom watched our show with Lee Haney.
Okay. Yeah.
She watches all of them, really. She loves our show. So she was watching the one with Lee Haney, and she's obviously seen me compete, but she's not like outside of me. She doesn't watch bodybuilding, but she watched the show and she saw the video that you put up of Lee on stage. Like he was posing, whatever, while
yeah.
and she goes, "Wow, Eric." She goes, "He had such a beautiful body. That tiny little waist he had, and
Yeah,
he was so wide up top." And this is my mother.
yeah,
She's in her 80s.
yeah, yeah,
She's just
yeah,
a
yeah,
regular person. She
yeah,
and she was saying what a beautiful
yeah,
body he has.
yeah,
And so even though Lee Haney was 255 pounds and a freak of nature, if you see him right in front of you,
yeah,
she was saying that, but she probably wouldn't say that about a Nick Walker or
yeah,
or a
yeah.
Marcus Rule or whoever else you want to put
Exactly.
into that,
Exactly. It's just it's
body.
preference. Yeah, it's
I'm
preference.
just saying she's like I could see where Lee Haney wants he
Yeah,
wants bodybuilding to be more appreciated by the
yeah,
masses.
yeah.
I
But
think that's part of where it comes from for
as
him.
well, he's looking at it on the health side as well. Like
He's
we
also worried
said,
about people's health.
like we
Yes,
talked
obviously.
about, Keon, if he wants to go to the open class, he should just stay as he is and not gain 10 more pounds. That's what he's saying as well. I mean, it's coming from that as well. And mentioning your mother the other last week, was it? No, the week we did Lee Haney, the week before. I went to my parents' house, to see them. My dad's gonna be 82, my mom's getting close to 80. Uh I'm opening the door and I'm like, they have the television, the sounds up, and I'm like, why am I hearing Eric? And I thought I had the mobile, playing the video because I listen to the podcast in the car. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? What am I hearing? And I go in and I see the TV and there's me and you and Lee Haney and they're there watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great though, isn't
Yeah, yeah,
it?
it's cool. It's
I
cool. And
love when
even that,
my mother calls me and she goes, "Oh, that podcast was so good.
yeah,
It's so good."
even
Close out the topic, a big, huge roundtable committee kind of thing
yeah,
would
yeah,
be huge, like with an audience and
that
everything
would
would
be
be
cool.
really and people can ask questions.
Yeah.
It'd be very
Yeah,
interesting.
you
So
have them like
who knows?
like the old Olympia press conference where they're all there, you
Yeah,
know.
but
You
like a
can
different
have
purpose.
a section with the mass monsters. You have the guys of the 90s and 2000s, and then you have the guys Lee Haney, Lee
If you can
Labrada,
bring some of the guys like the 70s, 80s, like the
yeah,
Samir News,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that kind of stuff, and then have some of the more like 80s guys
yeah,
like the Gasparis and the
yeah,
Labradas, the
yeah,
90s guys. If you can have all those generations in one room
yeah,
giving their opinions, I think
yeah.
that would be like a huge
That
thing.
would be cool.
You could sell
That
tickets to that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that would be really good. You have like Bob, maybe emceeing the thing or taking care of it. You have Dan there, and you can have,
Yeah,
just taking points, and then they can decide. They say,
yeah.
listen, we're gonna push it in that direction, and
And then you have some of the biggest judges there. You have Steve
yeah,
there,
yeah.
Tyler. Everybody's opinions put forth. I think it'd be a very
And they
interesting
and they
time.
explain what they look at on stage, what they're looking for. Because some
Yeah.
bodybuilders have no idea what the judges want.
And I would love like Milos, for instance, since he's the most
No, he's
vocal, to
yeah.
stand up and say, Steve, Tyler, whatever judges there, explain to me why you got rid of the symmetry round.
Yeah, yeah,
Explain to me why, and
yeah,
let them answer.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it'd
no,
be
he's
you and I have come up with this idea, so we need to get trademark it.
yeah.
So if they do it, it's our
Yeah.
idea.
I'll send it to some people. Listen to this. We said it.
Yeah,
But
I might put this part of the show up on one of my
yeah.
teasers. Put on it.
Um, like I mean